Hare Krishna. Today we will begin the chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita. So today we are going to focus on text 1 to 8 in this subsection. Arjuna is presenting his doubts from text 1 to 4, and 5 to 8 there is a discussion on overcoming death. This chapter is entitled as Attaining the Supreme. So let us begin. Arjuna Vacha Yattat Brahma Kimatya Karma Purushottama Adibhutam Cha Kim Proktam Adidevam Kimuchyate. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? What are the demigods? Please explain this to me. In this time, the Lord Krishna answers different questions from Arjuna, beginning with what is Brahman. The Lord also explains karma, that is fruitive activities, devotional service, and yoga principles, and devotional service in its pure form. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains that the Supreme Absolute Truth is known as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In addition, the living entity, the individual soul, is also called Brahman. Arjuna also inquires about Atma, which refers to the body, the soul, the mind. According to Vedic dictionary, Atma refers to mind, body, soul, and senses also. Arjuna has addressed the Supreme Lord as Purushottama, Supreme Person, which means that he was putting these questions not simply to a friend, but to the Supreme Person, knowing him to be the Supreme Authority, able to give definitive answers. आदियज्ञा कथं तोऽत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदना प्रयाणकाले च कथं नेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः. Who is the Lord of the sacrifice? And how does he live in the body of Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Lord of sacrifice may refer to either Indra or Vishnu. Vishnu is the chief of the primal demigods, including Lord Brahma and Shiva. And Indra is the chief of administrative demigods. Both Indra and Vishnu are worshipped by Yajna performances. But here Arjuna asks who actually the Lord of Yajna sacrifice is, and how the Lord is residing within the body of the living entity. Arjuna addresses the Lord of Madhusudana because Krishna once killed a demon named Madhu. Actually, these questions, which are of the nature of doubt, should not have arisen in the mind of Arjuna because Arjuna is a Krishna conscious devotee. So therefore, these doubts are like demons. So Krishna is very expert in killing demons. Arjuna therefore addresses him as Madhusudana so that Krishna might kill the demoniac doubts that arise in Arjuna's mind. Now the word Prayana Kale in this verse is very significant because whatever we do in life will be tested at the time of death. Arjuna is very anxious to know of those who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. What should be their position at that final moment? At the time of death, all the bodily functions are disrupted and the mind is not in a proper condition. Thus disturbed by the bodily situation, one may not be able to remember the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Kulashekha, the great devotee, prays, My dear Lord, just now I'm quite healthy, and it's better that I die immediately so that the swan of my mind can seek entrance at the stem of your lotus feet. The metaphor is used because the swan, a bird of water, takes pleasure in digging into the lotus flowers. Its forte proclivity is to enter into the lotus flower. Maharaj Kulashekha says to the Lord, Now my mind is undisturbed and quite healthy. If I die immediately, thinking of your lotus feet, then I am sure that my performance of your devotional service will become perfect. But if I have to wait for my natural death, then I do not know what will happen because at that time the bodily functions will be disrupted. My throat will be choked up, and I do not know whether I shall be able to chant pure way. Better let me die immediately. Arjuna's questions how a person can fix his mind on Krishna's lotus feet. How a person can fix his mind on Krishna's lotus feet at such a time. There is a classic difference between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Srila Prabhupada says in this material world, everyone at every stage, at every step in this material world is bewildered and perplexed and confused. There is perplexity at every step for everyone. Now, material knowledge does not resolve the state of perplexity. Material knowledge at best can simply transfer a state of perplexity from one ground to the other ground, but the perplexity still remains. Perplexity still remains. If somebody is in a village, one will be thinking, oh, shall I stay in village or shall I go to the nearest town? Somebody is in a town, one will be thinking, shall I stay in the town? Shall I go to the metro city? So somebody is there in the metro city, metropolitan city. Such a person will be thinking, shall I remain in the metropolitan or shall I go to United States? So the perplexity is the same, one ground to the other. The bewilderment is the same. So what does the exposure to material knowledge do? Exposure to material knowledge simply transports this perplexity to a different ground. That's it. At best. At best. So this is so because material knowledge presents everything as disjoint and nothing to give and take with each other. Therefore, whether we know about a thing or not, it doesn't matter. Because it is disjoint, it doesn't have to give and take anything with anything else. But spiritual knowledge connects everything. Sutre, Mani, Gana, it connects everything. So therefore, whatever material knowledge one acquires, it doesn't make much difference in one's life. Because knowing or not knowing doesn't make much difference. Knowing or not knowing doesn't make much difference. Because material knowledge is temporary, material knowledge is one-sided, material knowledge is lower dimensional, material knowledge keeps changing. So whether we know or not, it doesn't make much difference. Because down the line, it is anyways going to change. It's limited, attacks on a very superficial plane. Whereas spiritual knowledge is not like that. Spiritual knowledge keeps giving clarity to the living entity. Because one knows little bit, one is able to understand the connection of everything to everything else. So everything is one integrated unit for a person. It's simply Krishna's energy, which can be used to serve Krishna. And therefore, progressive spiritual knowledge can give one clarity. Progressive Krishna consciousness can give one clarity. So this is important. So when we develop relationship with Krishna, we are actually developing relationship with every living entity and everything in this world. So therefore, the Sambandha Abhideya and Prayojan is a process of connecting universally. As Rananmal says, when there is love of Krishna in the heart, the eyes, and with that same vision, when one looks at other living entities, it gets transformed to compassion. When we love Krishna, we can see everything in the world as Tadiya, the Lord, meant for the service of all. So by connecting to Krishna, one connects to everything else. And therefore, we can see that all these disjoint aspects get interlinked through bhakti. That is why Arjuna is approaching Krishna. Arjuna is shooting different volley of questions which are spanning so many different ranges. But if you see, the answer is going to connect everything. Arjuna's doubts range from art of dying to what is self, what is Brahman, so on. All this can be united by Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Krishna consciousness is the complete structure. Nothing falls apart from it. And that is why Krishna consciousness should not be taken up as a hobby. Let's read further. Shri Bhagavan Vacham Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavo Adhyatmachate Bhuta Bhavo Adhyavakaro Sarga Karma Samachitana. The Supreme Personality of God said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, that is the self. Action pertaining to the development of material bodies of the living entity is called karma. Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma. Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. But beyond Brahman, there is Parabrahman. Brahman refers to living entity. Parabrahman refers to the supreme personality of God. The constitutional position of the living entity is different from the position he takes in the material world. In the material consciousness, his nature is to try to be the Lord of matter. But in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various bodies in the material world. This is called karma, or varied creation by the force of material consciousness. In the Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman, but he is never called Parabrahman. The living entity, Jivatma, takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark material nature and identifies himself with matter. And sometimes he identifies himself with superior spiritual nature. Therefore, he is called the Supreme Lord Material Energy. According to his identification with the material or the spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. In the material nature, he may take a body from any of the 84 lakh species. According to his identification, material or spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of the 84 lakh species of life. But in the spiritual nature, he is only one body. In the material nature, sometimes as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc., according to his karma. To attain material heavenly planets and enjoy their facilities, he sometimes performs yajna. But when his limit is exhausted, he returns again to this earth, the form of a man, and that is called as karma. The Chandogya Upanishad describes a Vedic sacrificial process. Five kinds of offerings are made into five kinds of fire. The five kinds of fire are conceived of as the heavenly planets, clouds, earth, man, and woman. So, five kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, the enjoyer on the moon, rain, grains, semen. In the process of sacrifice, a living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. And their merit is exhausted. The living entity descends to the earth in the form of rain, then to take the form of grains, and grains are eaten by man and transformed into semen, which impregnates a woman, and thus the living entity once again attains the human form to perform sacrifice and so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. Krishna consciousness person, however, avoids such sacrifices. He takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepares himself to return to God. Impersonalist commentators on the Bhagavad Gita unreasonably argue that Brahman takes the form of Jiva in the material world. And to substantiate this, they refer to chapter 15, page 7. In this verse, the Lord also speaks of the living entity as an eternal fragment of myself. But in this verse, again, the fragment of God, the living entity, may fall down into the material world, but the Supreme Lord Achyuta never falls down. Therefore, this assumption that the Supreme Brahman assumes the form of Jiva So this assumption that the Supreme Brahman assumes the form of the Jiva is not acceptable. It is important to remember that in the Vedic literature, the Brahman, the living entity, is distinguished from Parabrahman, that is the Supreme Lord. Adibhutam Sharobhava Purushaschathi Daivatam Adi Yajyo Ahmimatra Dede Pratambara. Translation. For best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called as Adibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and the moon, is called Adidaiva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every living being, am called Adiyagya. The physical nature is constantly changing. Material bodies generally pass through six stages. They are born, they grow, they remain for some duration, they produce some byproducts, they dwindle, and they vanish. Physical nature is called Adibhuta. It is created at a certain point and annihilated at a certain point. The conception of the universal form of the Supreme Lord, which includes all the demigods and the different planets, is called Adidaiva. And at present in the body, along with the individual soul, the super soul, which is a plenary representation of Krishna. The super soul is called Paramatma or Adiyakya, which is situated in the heart. The word Eva is particularly important in the context of this word because by this word the Lord stresses that the Paramatma is not different from him. The super soul, the supreme personality of God, seated beside the individual soul, is a witness of the individual soul's activities and is the source of the soul's various types of consciousness. The super soul gives opportunity to the individual soul to act freely and witness his activities. The functions of all these manifestations of the Supreme Lord automatically become clarified for the pure Krishna conscious devotee engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. The gigantic form of the Lord called Adidevata is contemplated by the neophyte who cannot approach the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as super soul. The neophyte is advised to contemplate the universal form of Vishnu, whose legs are considered the lower planets and eyes are considered the sun and moon. The head is considered the upper planets. So here we're learning three things: Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, and Adi Yajna. To derive meaning out of anything, one has to understand the message holistically. It's like sometimes in a suspense movie, to understand what's happening all around, what is what, one has to watch the land and only get some sense of what's happening. Similarly, to derive meaning, one has to understand everything holistically. So creation is as important as destruction because the two together give a holistic presentation, which is important. So therefore, to derive meaning, one has to see everything holistically. This brings us to the point that when one interfaces life situations only in the present moment and makes choices instinctively. Instinctively means just based on the present. That's a moment. That's a meaning of instinctive, or that's one characteristic of instinctive. Instinctive means just based on the present. What are the inputs you're coming, the stimulus, and then the reaction to that instinct. So when short-lived or short-sighted propensities take over, and one is just working instinctively, uh, very difficult to derive meaning. Therefore, materialistic life is very difficult to derive meaning. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj is asking the question about death. Because death brings meaning to life. And therefore, life without understanding and focus on death is meaningless. It is death which brings meaning to life. That makes our understanding holistic. Where am I today? What am I facing today? But when am I going to know where is my death? How much time is there? How far I am from achieving anything before I die? That's why the Vedic Shastras don't shun the talk about death. The Vedic Shastras are presenting to us the sense of death. And Parishad Maharaj is asking this question. Sorry, Arjuna is asking this question. Sorry, Arjuna is asking this question. What is the duty for dying man? How can a dying man be saved? Delivered? So who we are tells us about our potentiality. And that's why the Bhuta, Arjuna is talking about Adi Daiva, Adi Bhuta, and Adi Yajna. The Supreme Lord is Adi Yajna. The middle nature is Adi Bhuta. And the Jiva is Brahman. What is the other term used here? Adidaiva is living entity. Adidaiva, the universal form of the Lord. Adi Bhuta, that is the Prakriti. Adi Yajna, that is the supreme personality of God. Adi Yajna. So, a holistic picture of Brahman, of Adi Daiva, of Adi Bhuta, and Adi Yajna sets the goal. That's the goal. And the talk about uh, and sets the goal, but still the circuitry is not complete. So Brahman is the living entity, and when Brahman understands the Adidaiva, the uh, Adibhuta, and the Adi Yajna, so keeping all these three in picture, one can understand the goal that we should drive myself. But it is this awareness and knowledge of death which sets the speed. It is awareness of death which sets the speed. And that's something which is being, and that is something which the Lord is answering here. So, so in that sense, we can see Arjuna is trying to fit various blocks in the actual picture. Why is he able to fit? Because he's already submitted to Krishna. Then he is posing different aspects and trying to make sense out of them, and everything fits very nice. So if we add Krishna in our lives, every situation and every aspect can fit very nice. But without Krishna, there is no fitting. It is all bizarre. You see here, 8.3. So unless one has this complete knowledge, the complete spectrum knowledge, one will never be able to get out of this material world. So Prabhupada is describing what sacrifices. The living entity goes to heavenly planets. Punya is gone. Then again, he comes in through rain and grain, and then takes another birth. Cycle never ends. So why? Therefore, Prabhupada saying Krishna conscious person avoids such sacrifice. So he directly takes to Krishna consciousness, prepares to return himself, to return back to birth. Prabhupada is stressing that Jiva is not Krishna because Krishna doesn't fall. Jiva falls down. Jiva can never be Krishna. Jiva can never be Achyuta, the Supreme Lord. And that's why the Brahman is always distinguished from Parabrahman. So our very existence speaks that now you see false ego is always trying to dictate that we are very great. But our very existence speaks that we are not very great. And why are we following this particular word? So we are not at all great. So that means that so that sets in. So the very existential, fundamental existential property is that we are part and parcel of Lord. We are insignificant. It's not supposed to be subservient. So Arjuna is asking Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna is going to get a very complete picture. Now let's try to read further.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Guru.
So, like in the 8.3, Prabhupada is writing that we living entities falls from the clouds through the rain, and then goes to earth, and then after that, when we take a food, and then after that the semen comes. So here uh, it's like this, like how the soul like is being like transferred to the cloud, like it's like demigods, they do this type of role. And like that too, and how like we eat so many grains, so like how these things have been decided, like the soul, the part.
Yeah. So the soul will naturally follow this because the soul wants to get a body. And the soul wants to get a body. The natural cycle is this one. Uh, that the rain and grain, and then through the grain, the semen, and through the semen. Uh, there is birth. So there are multiple types of birth. Uh, Andaja, Adbhuja, no? There are different types of birth. As the egg, as the, I mean, through the, womb of the mother, through perspiration, huh? Fermentation, what it is called. Andaja, Udvaja, germination, fermentation. Yeah, fermentation. Yes. So we also hear the other aspect that the living entity is sarvagataha, that means the living entity is everywhere. Uh, so now, yeah, the living entity is everywhere. The living entity channelizes itself through this root. So the birth through the mother's womb and the birth through egg will always follow this cycle, the rain grain cycle, like that, rain grain cycle. And the living entities who want birth like that, they will come in that to that track. Yes, the demigods facilitate, but the living entity himself will take to it. It's just like, people may roam around anywhere in the world, but if they want money, they have to come to a particular company every day. It's very simple, as simple as that. So if because the living entity also wants a body to enjoy, so the living entity follows these protocols, follows these protocols. Just like KGP students can go anywhere, in camp around the campus. But if they want degree, they have to appear for the exam in the hall which is specified. Similarly, there is a specification by the demigods how the living entity can get a body. Many of them come and they, always say, okay, so many living entities come in the semen, but they are not getting the body. So many living entities come to the semen, then they are not getting the bodies. That's true. That's true. But so some of them will keep getting the bodies, according to their ranks. Their rank is decided by the karma. So like that, like everybody applies for every company in a job, but some get selected, some don't. Then they apply in another company. Then they apply in another company. So similarly, the living entities are also in this way trying to apply for a body, and they have to come through that channel, give the interview, and some of them are selected. Others have to go to another channel further, like that. All this is facilitated by the demigods. But this process and protocol is there. Andaja, Shvetaja. Shvetaja is perspiration, Shvetaja. Then next, Jadayuja is Andaja, Shvetaja, Jadayuja, Udbuja. Something is Udbuja also. Embryo, Jadayuja is our birth is Jadayuja, embryo. Yes. And the fourth one, Udbuja. The bedbug is Shvetaja. Bedbug, Shvetaja. Andaja, Jadayuja. Udbuja, what vegetable? Seeds. Seeds. Udbuja is seed. So all these have various protocols. The details may differ actually. The details may differ. See, just like in our body also there are many souls. Now, everybody may not be coming through, every cell has a soul. So everybody is not coming through the semen. But probably everybody is coming through the grains. We can understand. In that cycle, the souls, all the souls are coming from the grains. And that's why food is required. So cells are created, one soul is planted there. Like that. So they are following this another channel. Similarly, so we can understand these are channels, different channels, and how the soul get body. And they, these are facilitated by demigods, and the souls are following. Souls are following. Okay, let's go further. So the soul in the cell, probably that's coming from the brains for us. But the soul in the seed is still coming through rains. Because from the rains, they may go into the earth. From the earth, through the nutrients, they may go into the body. That's how they may come into the seed, the soul in the seed. There is soul in the seed, therefore it grows. There is soul in the seed. So if we see that rain, grain, and semen, so it may be, the cycle may, for another channel, the cycle may be only till grain. Another channel, the cycle may be till rain, no? Like that. Perspiration, perspiration, perspiration. Yeah, we don't know how perspiration, till what cycle there. Perspiration. No, the living entities are inside. That is one thing. Through grains, they are inside the body, and person is perspiring from inside. I think they're coming outside. Not from outside only. I don't think they're getting the body. So we can get some sense of what's happening. This is a channel. If one wants to get a body, this is placement cell. You know, everybody will follow that. Otherwise, they don't get a body. Even a ghost and roam around. So, so death sets the gear, and that's why the Lord is picked up immediately. So the Lord is explaining various aspects, just like no. And now the Lord has picked up the most important dimension. The sets, no, the death sets the gear, and the death sets the gear, and so immediately the Lord starts picking up on this thread. Antakale च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावम् याति नास्ति अत्र संशया. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. So, in this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the purest of the pure. Therefore, anyone who is constantly Krishna conscious is also purest of the pure. The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. Therefore, one should practice Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life. If one wants to achieve success at the end of his life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya has advised that one be as tolerant as a tree. There may be so many impediments for a person who is chanting Hare Krishna. Nonetheless, tolerating all these impediments, one should continue to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So that at the end of one's life, one will have the full benefit of Krishna consciousness. Now, this is very much like saying that, okay, what can give one, say, marks in an exam? You know? So, if one remembers the formula, the subject matter at the examination table, and can share that remembrance in a written script, such a person will get. So, who can remember at the examination desk? One was prepared thoroughly throughout the semester. So, similarly, Antakala cha mameva, the Lord is telling the expectation, the emancipation criteria, and that necessitates that one practices throughout one's life, and therefore constant chanting. Constant chanting will lead to remembrance. Srila Prabhupada says that life should be so engineered that 24 hours one is remembering Krishna. And that is what will ensure Antakale Chama Swaram Muktva Swaram Muktva Kalevaram. We see the Lord has already told previously that the living entity cannot fit in multiple things in one's conscious awareness. So therefore, the Lord has already established the living entity machinery is a living entity is tatastha. That means the living entity has a proclivity to get attracted towards illusion. That's the living entity's weakness. The living entity's machinery is the living entity can assimilate only one thing at a time. And therefore, the Lord in chapter 2 had been talking about Vyavasatmika Buddhi. So, Bahushaka and Antasta Buddha Avyavasaya. Too many goals, the intelligence becomes defunct. So the Lord is so, this is the machinery. The living entity, the Jiva is infinite simple, the Jiva is tatastha, the Jiva is prone to get allured. How can the Jiva drive himself to success, everlasting success? One pointed attention. And now the Lord is telling that one pointed attention should be Antakale Chamam Eva Smaran Bhutva. To remember me at the time of death. So this is the only goal. And therefore, a devotee has to practice this throughout one's life. And that will lead one to perfection. Let's read further. Yam yam vapi swaram bhavam yajate ante kalevaram tam tameva iti kaunteya sadatmavadhaditaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, Osana Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. But the process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is explained here. A person who at the end of his life quits his life thinking of Krishna attains the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. But it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental state. This is the point we should note very carefully. How can one die in a proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat, although a great personality, out of a deer at the end of his life. So in his next life, he was transferred into the body of a deer. Although as a deer he remembered his past activities, he had to accept this animal body. Of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thought at the moment of death. So this life creates one's next life. If in one's present life one lives in the mode of goodness and always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. That will help one be transferred to the transcendental service of nature of Krishna. If one is transcendentally absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life. The Prabhupada is saying activities in this life decides the next life. So future will only be glorious when we struggle to make the present better. That is why postponing Krishna consciousness is very lethal. Why? Because the present decides the future. Now Krishna is telling the mechanism how it happens. The present decides the future. Now somebody says, okay, let me postpone my Krishna consciousness to a later date. So now this is what this devotee is saying. I was thinking that okay, let me postpone my Krishna consciousness to a future day. Or what will happen in future, I cannot decide right now. It will be decided by what I do in the present. So if I am just saying that okay, in future I'll take to Krishna consciousness, that will depend upon an integral of what all activities are done till that stage. So therefore, if I am not practicing Krishna consciousness today, there is a foolproof likelihood and in future also never I will be able to practice. Because it is the present which decides the future. So whenever we are postponing, we stand a great risk. Because let's make it happen tomorrow, that tomorrow may never come. Because I cannot jump and change my state abruptly. Whatever my present state is, that will push my, or that will simply extend a little forward, and that will become my next state. If my present state is not toward Krishna, how can I make a jump towards Krishna? It's not possible. It's just like a bridge, no? We are in a bridge, someone is making a bridge. Uh, so whichever, a bridge cannot be abrupt. Cannot be abrupt. On constructing a bridge, it cannot be abrupt. Till now, it has gone in this direction. All of a sudden, it cannot change direction 90 degrees. It has to, One has to start twisting it. In due course of time, one can go that way. So, because there is continuity. It has to be, the continuity ensures that there is no direct jump, and therefore one should start making space priority for Krishna consciousness today. Irrespective of the pressures and obstacles, challenges, and so so that's why in every uh, present setup, in a small setup, one should fit in Krishna consciousness. Because if it is not fitting today, on a daily basis, weekly basis, it won't fit in. It won't fit in. That is the point. Let's try to read further. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So boys who are not taking consciousness now and just saying later will they ever come? Yeah, there is a very grim possibility. There is a very grim possibility that yeah, there is a grim possibility. So we shall give opportunity again, but this no, the process has got delayed a lot. It's like if you don't take job in campus, it's very difficult to get. As simple as that. Again, day night or the top down or sky, it becomes more difficult. So it's going to be more difficult, definitely. No? So probably more punya karma will be required. So Krishna is also trying, but it is always better if in the present tense one makes a choice. Right? That's why Raisham said, what to say of the new people? Even if devotees they go down in the Krishna consciousness, next time to get up that same level will be difficult. That's what Raisham says. We should always try that devotees who have come to some level, they never go down. Because once he has gone down, again to pick up will be very. So we are 16 hours, they pass out, then they go down, they're not chanting. Now, when the devotee in voice is attending morning program, 4 o'clock, going for preaching. But when they go down, they're chanting one round, sometimes like that. Now, for them to pick up to that fervor again, it will be very, very difficult. Not so easy. So that's why you should try that people don't go down. तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुक्त च मयि अर्पिता मनो बुद्धिः मामेवसि असंशया. You see, the Lord is not approving Arjuna's argument. Arjuna is saying, I'll go to the forest and I will chant. The Lord is telling, no, no, no. You may go to the forest, but while going to the forest, you may get allured. Now you are not chanting. What is the guarantee that you'll be chanting while going to the forest? What is the guarantee that you will chant when you reach the forest? If you have to chant, better chant now. Don't change situations. So therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry your prescribed duty of fighting. If here you cannot be Krishna consciousness, there also you will not be Krishna conscious. If your activity is dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed to me, you will attain without it. See, this is the point. Now the Lord is saying. So if somebody cannot take a Krishna consciousness student life, that means working life also will be difficult. If one cannot be Krishna conscious bachelor, then how can be Krishna conscious the household? Huh? It's going to be very difficult. Unless there is some divine intervention by the Lord. When the Lord sends him a wife who is a devotee, so then by the power of that lady, Mataji, then there is some possibility that it will come again. Come back. Unless there is some divine intervention, it is just not possible. And that's what the Lord is saying. How can one sit down and chant when one cannot see? The Lord is saying it's your duty. You have been allotted. This is your psychophysical nature. This is your space. In this space, if you are not able to perform, probably any space you cannot perform. So that's why, that is the reason ashram is not very important in spiritual life. Because one who is serious, any ashram put him will be very serious. And one will dilu, any ashram put him will be dilu. So it's not about ashram. It's about are we serious? How serious we are. So uh, Acharya will say, first class brahmachari, you put him in grasa, will be first class grasa. Put him in sannyas, will become first class sannyas. You know? A third class brahmachari, put him in grasa, they will be third class grasa. He cannot be first class grasa. One who is a third class brahmachari can never become a first class grasa. Because one who is a third class brahmachari, to become a first class grasa, you should first become first class brahmachari. Then, then it is possible, like that. And put them as a third class sannyas, will be a third class sannyas, like that. So this is the point actually. Dedication is the point, and therefore dedication means no postponement, no postponement, like that. So therefore, Krishna consciousness every day. There is no concept of Krishna consciousness someday, sometime, somehow. No, every day. The Lord is not approving of this idea because, like Vaishnav says, some devotees they keep changing their counselor. They're saying, "Oh, it's not fitting, with this fellow." If you're not fitting with one fellow, you'll not fit with any fellow. That's a punchline, like that. You know. Or one says, "Okay, I'm not fitting in one voice, and I'll go to another voice," and then some devotees keep hopping temples. So they're not fitting in this temple, that temple. One who's not fitting in one temple will not fit in any temple of the world. One is not, so that's the point, actually. So therefore, the disease is inside, and the operation has to be done inside, rather than simply jumping here and there. No. This instruction to Arjuna is very important for all men engaged in material activities. The Lord does not say one should give up one's prescribed duties or engagements. One can continue and at the same time think of Krishna by chanting Hare. This should free one from mental contamination and engage the mind and intelligence in Krishna. By chanting Krishna's name, one will be transferred to the supreme planet Krishna Loka without. So sometimes devotees say, okay, now I'm in the phase of my life, I have to get a lot of money. So how can I have a serious spiritual fervor? It's a very risky thought process because no, once I have sufficient money, I will increase the gear of my Krishna consciousness. Very risky thought process. Very, very risky thought process. It's a sure short planned way to fall. No, sure short planned way to. So we have to understand. If we need anything, Krishna will supply all our needs actually. But we need to endeavor along with Mamanusmara Yuddhaja. Krishna will supply all our needs, provided we chant Hare Krishna properly, provided we do the morning program properly. So there is no excuse to morning program. Prabhupada did not say, oh, you are a grasta, you don't do morning program. Prabhupada did not say that, okay, your child is just born, you don't do morning program. No? Yeah, Prabhupada didn't say that. Prabhupada said, doesn't matter what you are. No? Serve Krishna. Serve Krishna. So the dedication, so dedication is an urgency. If I don't struggle to increase my dedication today, when will the fervor come? It won't. So therefore, a sadhaka's struggle should be to increase on their dedication on a daily basis, irrespective of the situation which one is. Krishna consciousness can work in any situation. Krishna consciousness is not dependent upon material conditions. Say, for example, here in KGP, there was a time we had no voice in KGP. Were we preaching? Was preaching happening? Yes. There was a time where there was no Utkarsha also. Was preaching happening? Because the concept Utkarsha came later. Was preaching happening? Yes. There was a time when we were staying in rental. We had no much facilities. Was preaching happening? Yes. More than present. Now we have a big facility. Is preaching happening? है ना only if you enthusiastically endeavors for it, है ना like that. So the point is Krishna consciousness is not dependent upon any material state. And therefore, so two ways Pradarsan is. One is a hope giving that okay, any situation I can stand and be dedicated. The second aspect is that we need to struggle in every situation to add Krishna. If we don't do that, it's going to be very detrimental. अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नन्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तया He who meditates on me as a supreme personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, Partha, is sure to reach me. In this verse, Lord Krishna stresses the importance of remembering him. Once memory of Krishna is revived by chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna. By this practice of chanting and hearing the sound vibration of the Supreme Lord, one's ear, tongue, and mind are engaged. This mystic meditation is very easy to practice and it helps one attain the Supreme Lord. Purusham means enjoyer. Although living entities belong to the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord, they are in material contamination. They think themselves enjoyers, but they are not the supreme enjoyer. Where it is clearly said that the supreme enjoyer is the supreme personality of God. In his different manifestations and primary expansions is Narayan, Vasudeva, etc. The devotee can constantly think of the object of worship, the Supreme Lord, in any of his features, Narayan, Krishna, Ram, etc., by chanting Hare Krishna. This practice will purify him, and at the end of his life, due to his constant chanting, he will be transferred to the kingdom of God. Yoga practices meditation on super souls within. Similarly, by chanting Hare Krishna, one fixes his mind always on the Supreme Lord. The mind is fickle, and therefore it is necessary to engage the mind by force to think of Krishna. One example often given is that of caterpillar that thinks of becoming a butterfly and so is transformed into a butterfly in the same life. Similarly, if we constantly think of Krishna, it is certain that at the end of our life, we shall have the same bodily constitution as Krishna. Abhyasa yoga tena chetasa nanyagami. Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Parthana Chintaya. Constantly thinking of me, constantly chanting my holy names, constantly thinking of me, constantly chanting my holy names. No? So, the regular practice of Bhyas Yoga Prayana. I was giving the example of a caterpillar. The caterpillar is always thinking of Krishna. Sorry, the butterfly becoming butterfly and the caterpillar becomes butterfly. Similarly, we should always be thinking about Krishna. And how? Prabhupada is saying the mind has to be driven by force. The mind will not move so easily. Mind is a buffalo. It won't move so easily. The mind has to be driven, moved, pushed, kicked by force. Force. Force is the same. So speed in spiritual life comes by fixity. And when you understand that this is the whole and sole goal of my life, serve Krishna by fixity. In fact, this is the nature of Shanagati. Shanagati means that one understands that without Krishna I cannot survive. That is called as Shanagati or dependence, surrender. Without Krishna I cannot survive. I just need Krishna, without which I just cannot survive. Just like materialistic people may feel that without money I cannot survive. I just need money, 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 you know. And they have such a frenzy that everybody in the material world they just want more and 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 more money. They just feel that I just want more money. I cannot survive. Just feel like, and then for this person, is a living entity very foolish because he's amassing more and more money. But still, the Lord says that they cannot get more than their quota. You know? So they may amass a lot, but Maya, what it does is it keeps draining the money from the other side. So many businessmen entrepreneurs they're amassing a lot of money, and Maya puts such kind of living entities as their sons and daughters who will squander it all in front of their own eyes. Enjoy, enjoy. So, but the living entity feels more and more money. Like that, a devotee should feel that I need more and more Krishna. Abhyas yoga yukta. That's dependent. That is the only thing which can give us fixity. You know, that when we just fix it up, just fix it up. That yes, I have to add Krishna in my life. I have to please Krishna and Guru in my life. Come what may, whatever it takes. That kind of fixity is required. A casual drive will not work out. Just like in preaching also, there are preachers of various kinds. One is a casual drive preacher. What is this casual drive preacher? This preacher, he just gives classes. He's saying, okay, your 20 people have come. Okay, he just gives Krishna Katha and he says all the best. Please chant your rounds. Wonderful. We'll meet next week. The next week only five people turn up. You know, and next week only five people are turning up. This person says, okay, Bhakti Shastri Thakur Maharaj said you can preach to the four walls, no problem, like that. He just closing his eyes and speaking Krishna Katha, and soon it will be four walls. The casual drive. Huh? You see the casual drive picture. Why? Because one is not the fixity is not there. The casual drive. Okay, whoever comes, I just speak Krishna Katha. So such a person will be sitting in the temple hall. Any visitor comes, he's now logging in 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. That's good enough for him. Like that. So the result will not come. If one is thinking of four walls, then actually four walls will come. Like that. But then another picture. You know, he's a he's a grab on. He's a grab on fellow. Any person comes his way, pass. This fellow like a leech will stick on to him. Krishna has made a leech. We can learn lessons from leech. This fellow like a leech. Any person comes in the way, just stick on. Not suck its blood. Stick on. He says okay. Uh, like that. And I've seen in our temple, Albert Road, there used to be some devotees, like that. They would be just walking in the temple hall very peacefully in a gala mode, and they would be just scanning, and any new person they find, who has landed, somehow or the other, even by mistake, bus, and they'll talk to that person, they'll feed him prasad, they'll call him up, they'll SMS him up, they'll call him again, they'll be there again, this, that, No, even if this person, like one candidate, he was very young, he was just 3 4 months, I mean 3 4 weeks. He got transferred to Bangalore. So this Prabhu is calling him every week, every alter, 2 days in a week, like that. After 1.5 years, he came back from Bangalore, Calcutta. आश्चर्य हो रही अपने लोग 4 साल के बाद after 4 years investment they go and they don't come back and you 4 week investment and you came back. I said no, बीच में बहुत कुछ हुआ है like that. So this is the point, you see, so unless one fixes, just like say for example, if already there are if 20 boys have enrolled for Utkarsha already, how much fervor we have to enroll more boys, not much fervor, and we'll just go and ask, hey, आना है क्या, है ना, ना, वैसे ही पोस्ट मैनेजमेंट है ना तो जल्दी बताओ ना, टाइम नहीं है ना, नहीं आना तो ठीक है ना, परमिशन लिस्ट में डालेंगे तुमको, कोई और तो प्रोसेस करेगा ना, like that, only two boys for Utkarsha, and both of them, only two prospective boys for Utkarsha. We'll do anything and everything for them. Sare, tumko jo karna hai, what you want, we'll feed you in the mouth also, we'll do your assignment also, you please register for Utkarsha, like that. Is it not? We'll press your clothes also, wash your clothes also, everything. Fixity. That is called as fixity. That called as fixity. विदुर जी had fixed धृतराष्ट्र, इसको तो छोड़ना नहीं था, धृतराष्ट्र is rejecting. नहीं लूंगा ना. तो चल ठीक है, आ रहा हूँ, थोड़ा और प्रिपेयर करके प्रैक्टिस करके फिर से आऊंगा. So Viturji going to Maitreya Muni, getting strength and all that. After he got strength, lot of strength, became a champion. First person Viturji thought, hey, मेरा unfinished task है ना. किधर है Dhritarashtra? So he knocked him out. It all depends on punch, like that. So we munch to punch. A devotee is like we munch to punch, like that. Yeah. So that is a picture, to fix it. Similarly, we need to fix that. Yes, I won't leave Krishna at any cost. So that way, So even if boss is खड़ूस, what you understand, इसको भी वक्त बनाता हो, कि situation जो है ठीक हो जाएगा थोड़ा, मिल के जब करेंगे, That way. So one should, punch to punch, actually. So that kind of, and therefore the Lord is telling there is abhyas yoga yuktena. One should not leave it. One should not quit. Because if we quit in the present tense, future tense very difficult to pick it up again. No? So therefore, one holds on. It, whether it is easy or difficult, or it is painful or troublesome, or whatever, takes, one should never quit. One should never quit. Like that. So, and a devotee should rest assured because Krishna will help. But Krishna may help, Krishna will surely help. But that help may come anytime. It may even come at the last moment. Yeah? So when it's struggling, excruciating, bearing torture, everything, the last moment Krishna may just say this. The devotee should have faith. And devotee should continue. Devotee should continue. That is why one should not lower down the priority of Krishna consciousness in any kind of setting, any kind of setting. Let's stop here for today. Do we have any questions? Yes. Yeah, that's yoga. Yoga means meditating on the super soul. Dhyan, dhyana, samadhi. But the dhyan stage, and previous to that is warm up. Just like in the microscopy experiment, you spend a lot of time in focusing, warm up. So yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, they are like focusing the lens, to be able to get the focus, to get the focus. And then the measurements are taken, dhyan, dhyana, samadhi. So it is focus so that the super soul is visible, and then just like that's our standard. Yeah, Prabhupada says the effect is the same. The effect is the same. Prabhupada says the yogi samadhi, they are meditating on the Supreme Lord. They get the same benefit as the devotee gets. They get the same benefit what a devotee gets by even a neophyte devotee gets by taking darshan of the Lord. It's the same benefit. The benefit is the same. But the previous process is very troublesome because the stage of samadhi may come after thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. It's a 60,000 year top performance at the top gear. So it's a very long process. So practically impractical. So whereas the neophyte, whereas in Bhakti, even the neophyte on first day is getting that kind of qualification. So we have a greater opportunity and fortune in Bhakti. To be connected to Krishna from day one. To be chanting the holy names from day one. To be chanting the holy names from day one. So that's important. Okay, so let's stop here for today. We'll continue forward our discussion on the 8th chapter. The next subsection is going to talk. The Lord is going to talk about various ways by which one can attain Krishna. And I'm going further. We'll take that up in the next class. Panchashram Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Bol.